Okay, so in this video, I'm going to explain number 2 of assessment 1, type 1 for topic 3. So if you refer to your test paper, in number 2, you're supposed to factorize several expressions. So factorize each of the following. Each of the following. So make sure when you're watching this video, you're holding onto your paper so that you could see the exact questions in your paper. And again, you don't have to watch all the parts of the video, just go straight to the questions where you made a mistake. So just you can skip like a certain problem, so just move the video to the part that you want to see. Okay, so we'll start with letter A. In letter A, you are given x cubed minus 6x squared. So how do we factorize expressions like x cubed minus 6x squared? So first, the first thing that you have to check when you factor an expression is you look for the highest common factor for the given terms. Some books will say the greatest common factor. Now for numbers, we know that the greatest common factor of two numbers is the highest divisor of the numbers. For example, if I have 6 and 12, the highest common divisor of 6 and 12 is 6. So if I have 6 and 12 in a given expression, then the greatest common factor, the number that I can factor out is 6. Okay. Now in the case of variables such as x cubed and x squared, you have to get, since we're looking for the greatest common factor, you need to recognize that x cubed is the same as x times x squared. So if x cubed is x times x squared, you could see that x squared is the highest common factor for x cubed and x squared. So some people will easily identify the highest common factor for this type of expressions. Like they look at the exponents, and since you have x cubed and x squared, then the highest common factor will be the expression with the smaller exponent. Because x cubed has one more x, they multiply to it. So like x cubed is x times x times x, and x squared is just x times x. So the common for these two terms is that you have two x's being multiplied to each other, and that is x squared. Okay, so to factor x cubed minus 6x squared, so what you can do, you look at the numbers. Now here, even if the number is not written, we know that's 1. So it's 1x cubed minus 6x squared. Now the highest common divisor for 1 and 6 is 1. So basically, you cannot factor other numbers aside from 1. So we'll leave it like that. So we go through the x cubed and x squared. As I mentioned a while ago, the highest common factor for x cubed and x squared is x squared. So I could factor out x squared, and then you have to determine what will be left if you factor out x squared. Factoring out basically means you're dividing the terms by the factor. So if x cubed was initially given, if you factor out x squared, that means you're dividing x cubed by x squared. And x cubed divided by x squared is simply x, right? Loss on exponents, so x, this is x to the 3 minus 2. So you have x to the 1, or simply x. Or say cancel 2, cancel x squared. X cubed is x squared times x. So that means you cancel x squared and you have x left. Okay? So if I factor out x squared, so this will give me x. And then for the 6x squared, since I'll be factoring out x squared, then I have minus 6 left. Okay, so that's how you factor expressions like x cubed minus 6x squared. Again, you look for the greatest common factor, the highest common factor for the numbers and for the variables. Okay, now how do you know if this is the simplest, or if you have factored the expression completely? Now, after factoring x squared, you have to look at the remaining expression, and in this case, it's x minus 6. So as you can see, there is no common factor between x and 6. So you can leave it like x minus 6 already. So this means that you have factored the x cubed minus 6x squared completely. Okay, so again, just to make a quick summary of how to approach expressions like x cubed minus 6x squared, you have to determine the greatest common factor or the highest common factor for each term, and then factor it out. Factoring it out is like moving it out, okay, if you want to see it like that. So factoring it out, and then you have to do factoring as if you're dividing expressions, okay? So that's the idea of factoring, okay? Now there's a way to check if your factored form is correct. Now, factoring is basically the reverse of expanding an expression. And when you expand, you apply the distributive law. So looking at x cubed, see, look at x squared times x minus 6. Okay, if you apply the distributive law, x squared times x is x cubed. And then x squared times 6 is 6x squared. And as you can see, this is the original expression. So it means that your factored form is correct. Okay? So I hope that is clear. Let's apply the idea to letter B, because letter B is similar to letter A. Okay, so look at your paper and then go to letter B number 2. In letter B number 2, you were given 2a squared b cubed minus 8ab squared. Okay, so first I have to check what is the greatest common factor between the two terms. So I look at the number, and if I look at the numbers, I have 2 and 8. The highest common factor for 2 and 8 is 2, meaning that's the highest divisor that you can have for 2 and 8. Then for the letters, a squared and a, so the highest common factor must be a. Okay, and then for the b cubed and b squared, the highest common factor is b squared. Okay, so both of them have at least b squared. So b squared is b squared, but b cubed is b squared times b. Okay, so once you factor out the greatest common factor, you perform division. So 2 by 2 is 1, so that's 1. A squared divided by a is a. B cubed divided by b squared is b. And then you do the same for 8ab squared. 8 divided by 2 is 4. B squared, a divided by a is 1, so that's basically 1. And then b squared divided by b squared is also 1. So when you simplify, this is 2a b squared, 1ab is ab, 4 times 1 times 1 is 4. Now for some people, you can already skip this step, like they already know that 1ab is basically ab, so you could go straight to writing ab, and 4 times 1 times 1 is basically 4, so you can go straight to writing 4 times 1 times 1 as 4. Okay, so that's how you factor expressions in which you could see that there are common factors among the terms. Okay, so that's it for this video. I'll be showing the solutions to the succeeding questions in the next videos. Okay.